Thanks for having me.
Yep. So you got a
So
hand
this
for us?
hand is, yeah, 235, seven-handed. I'm the effective with 550.
235 at like Bay 101 or something? Or
No,
Matrix?
235 at the Oaks.
Oh, at the Oaks. Okay. A place that I have not been
Yeah,
to. Two
yeah.
three five seven handed at the Oaks. And what's the cap buy? Is it a 500 max or what?
It's they added a 1-2-3 game. It used to be 100 to 1,000. Now they raised it to 200 to 1,000.
This game is 200 to 1,000.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always pisses me off when I go up to the Bay Area is I always forget this is not 235 all in front of the button. The two is on the button. And I always
Yes.
forget that. I always forget that and I fold
Yes.
my button. So
Yes. They're
235,
trying to create action.
yeah, 235, 200 to 1,000. You said 700 effective. Is that right?
550.
Oh,
I'm the
550 effective.
effective.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Seven-handed.
Yep.
We open UTG with Queen Jack of Spades
Okay.
plus one cutoff and the small blind calls.
So plus one cutoff and small blind call. So your three ways.
Yeah,
What did you open to?
yeah. Plus, we opened to 20.
Okay. To 20.
Plus one had us covered. Plus one and cutoff had us covered.
Okay.
And the cutoff, I think he has around maybe like 280, something like that.
The cutoff is a short stack.
No, 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 no. The small blind is the short stack.
Okay.
The plus one and the cutoff had us covered.
Okay. So four ways, about $80
Yeah,
in the pot. Queen Jack of
yeah,
Spades.
80.
Okay.
Yeah. The flop came nine of spades, seven diamonds, five of clubs.
Nine of spades, seven of diamonds, five of clubs. So, I mean, in a situation like this here, obviously you've got sort of two overcards and you've got some backdoor properties right here with the
Yeah.
queen, jack. I mean, in general, I'm not a huge fan of c betting into like
Three
player,
people. Yeah.
yeah, like three players here, especially when you're from up front. This is one of these spots where playing an unbalanced kind of approach to live poker as a continuation bet from up front, I think is extremely profitable or more profitable than
Mhm.
playing a balanced approach. And what I mean by that is that the theory would dictate that because this board is going to hit a lot of field callers, that you would be checking a lot of your over pairs in a spot like this. So you're unbalanced if you're betting your over pairs and checking a hand like this. It still
Mhm.
doesn't matter though. It's still the more profitable approach to play. I feel like in these games. So
A
that's where
live
the
game.
theory. Yeah, that's what I mean. I would probably bet almost always with over pairs here. Your hand, like I said, it has some properties, some backdoor properties. Maybe if it was like against two people, I might see betting here. I do
Mhm.
think that 975 is slightly better than say like obviously like 976, nine eight
Mhm.
seven, something like that, which I think would be probably burning money. Although 987 would have a gut shot to a 10, but I mean I don't know if you're gonna see bet, but that's you'd have to have a you'd have to be up against like some really really weak opponents. I feel like to see bet here.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why I bet because they were just. I didn't expect them to fold one pair on the flop, honestly. But if I picked up any equity, I was planning to like double barrel it. I was expecting to fold to get a fold from any kind of one pair. I see bet 45
Okay.
plus one and the small blind calls.
So plus one calls, cutoff folds, and the small blind
Yeah,
calls. And the small blind is short, right? So he's only got about like
yeah,
220 left. So 135, the pot's like right 215. Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So the turn came a king of spades.
Okay. So you pick up a straight flush draw now?
Yeah, we pick up a straight flush draw, gutter,
Nine
six
of
straight.
spades, seven of diamonds, five of clubs, king of spades. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then I double barrel for 125 plus one tanks for about like good 35, 40 seconds, and then called small blind fold.
You might want to implement an overbet here. It's probably not something that's seen. I mean, the stack sizes are really weird, right? Like you put in
Yeah,
45. You already put in 65, so you're only at like 480. But uh, if you bet say like 200 here,
Mhm.
and then you'd have like 200 left, you'd probably have to give up. It's really weird. I'm trying to visualize the stack size. This is where, camp games and like you're 100 big blinds deep, right? Because you're 550 at 235.
Mhm.
But the large open sizes and the multi-way nature of these pots, you're not really 100 big blinds in the sense of what people think about 100 big blinds. So you get in these really, really odd spots where, on the turn, you basically have two pot size bets left. So if you bet pot on the turn and then somebody calls you, you're not basically left with that much. So you might
Mhm.
want to just go bet pot and then give up at the end to max your fold equity. Of course, with your hand, if you bet pot, you're going to have to call because it's only going to be 200 more, right? If you go
Yeah,
200, you're going to have
yeah.
to call. But
But
I tend to think
uh,
that that's what I would probably do here. I'd probably go towards the 200 side, but you bet 125 plus one call, small blind fold. So now the pot is 465, right?
yeah, and at the time, at the like on the turn, I was also debating if I should just size up close to the pot and just give up. But I don't know. I thought I was just gonna, if the small blind jams, I was gonna stack off.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And I
small
thought,
blind's gonna have less small. Oh,
yeah,
here. Oh, I see what you're saying. If you bet
yeah,
125, the small blind jams.
yeah, and I have about like 370. I was thinking if the next two act jams on me, I might be able to get away from it. So because I don't think at that point if he jams on me, I'm gonna have the right odds to call. So that's
Well,
why
I mean,
I
you'd
sized
probably have
down a little
nine
bit.
outs if you had a set, right? You'd have seven
Yeah.
spade outs and four and three gut shots or 10 outs. Anyways, the pot's 465 now. Looks like you have once like maybe 360 or so left in your stack. What's the
Yeah.
river?
The river came a king of diamonds.
Okay, so you have a three-quarter pot size bet left here. I mean, this is interesting because the again the flop is nine of spades, seven of diamonds, five of clubs. Here has queen jack of spades, and he bets into three people and plus one calls on the flop, and then again calls on the turn, right? After
Hmm.
the small blind overcalled the flop. I would think that plus one would probably raise off with some sort of a strong hand. It's kind of peculiar here that he continues to call on the king when backdoor spades come when you have them. Makes me feel like he could have a pair plus spade draw, like an ace seven of spades, ace five of spades, or just continue to be like a little bit stubborn with a pair plus straight draw. I would probably go for it now, to be honest with you. And then,
Okay.
again, the theory is that yeah, you could polarize here to a king plus, give him a worse price. So if you move all in for 365, he's going to get a worse price to bluff catch. That's the thing you're supposed to do in theory. Again, in live poker, it's kind of interesting. What I have found is that sometimes when you move all in, you get called more often than if you make what looks like a value bet. So here at
Hmm.
465 with 365 left, like you might get the same fold equity, if not a
I'm
higher
betting.
percentage of fold equity by betting 250 to 275 as opposed to moving all in. I mean, that's just my
Hmm.
experience. Like I said, that might be a deviation or that might be a fault of the live player who's your opponent because he's supposed to be calling less, right, to a larger bet and calling more often to a smaller bet. But again, these things mean different things in live poker. What did you end up doing?
Yeah, I was pretty much in line with your thinking. I thought he has a lot of like one pair plus straight draws. There's backdoor with one pair hand,
Yeah.
backdoor flush out with one pair hand on the river.
Hmm.
So I decided just to move all in to get him off of those hands. And I got called by a hand I wasn't expecting to see, which
So here
is
moves in. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
which is king queen of hearts.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
obviously he's going to call with king queen of hearts, but I mean, so he has no backdoor. He
nothing,
has
just two
no
over.
backdoor on the flop. He calls your bet next to act. I mean, that's obviously
Yeah.
terrible. Normally, I would 3-bet that hand if I were him to drive everybody else out pre-flop under the gun plus under the gun one. But I mean, it's live poker. You'll see a lot of flatting, but I don't understand. I mean, it is what it is. I think you played the hand
Yeah.
fine. He really shouldn't have a whole lot of, King X. It's kind of interesting because the spade comes on the turn. It would be
Hmm.
a very, very clean three barrel if the king wasn't a spade and it was like a club or a diamond, I feel like, allowing him to
Uh,
basically have more of the backdoor flush draws, whereas with you have some of the spades, it's less likely that he has the backdoors, although I guess your cards don't really interact with the board all that much. But yeah, that's bizarre. I mean, I don't have obviously a problem with the way that you played it. He really just shouldn't really have kings here. And most of the time, people are
and
going to
then
raise off with a straight or with a set or something like that.
yeah, and then I got back like after I played the hand, thought about it. I mean, if he's calling with that hand, I shouldn't even be bluffing at all. So I
Well,
guess you're right.
I mean,
Just go unbalanced.
it's so far out there. I don't think that just because this guy's in a hand doesn't mean that you don't want to properly construct a continuation bet bluff. I mean, once you get to the river, it makes sense to play it this way. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the way that you played it. I think it was just a little bit, unlucky. Almost like getting a bad beat, right? Like it's like, well, it's just unlucky that the board ran out in the way where it gave you additional equity, and that the fact that this guy somehow has a king. But anyways, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.